Um, how we got into following up in missing persons cases kind of happened by literally accident. But in truth, if you have parents or family members or anybody that's ever witnessed abuse or ever saw something, please contact your local authorities, including your state troopers, state police, because here's how it happened to us. There was a series of things that had occurred to us in 1985, and I mean, this is just what I can remember because it's been a while, but when I was in school, I was in trouble, and I was skipping a lot of school because there was things going on at school, and I did talk my mom into letting me stay at home because I didn't know how to deal with bullying at school at the time. I was in a cheerleading squad. Things were bad at home. My parents were in the middle of divorce, and during that time, um, there were things that were going on during that divorce that just left us really wide open and vulnerable to a lot of things. And how to share it, it's really been difficult to put words to because at the same time, we were missing school. We didn't have like an attendance problem at the time. And luckily, there was a neighbor that notified the police and they looked into it. It didn't really begin there. It really was a couple of things all at the same time because while there was a neighbor or someone who had called the police, I'm not really sure who that person was at the time, but we were home alone and the police were checking into what was going on. And when kids are home alone or something suspicious, luckily for a concerned neighbor, that something did happen and we weren't aware of it at the time, but um, my mother, trusting some older man to babysit my sisters, I came home wondering what was going on. I was, of course, told by the school if I didn't show up for school, I would have gotten held back at eighth grade. And at the time, um, that idea of being held back was really upsetting. And I talked to my sister the other day, and she was telling me the same thing happened to my nephew, Tyler. And one of the things is if you've ever been through an ordeal or with kids or anything like that, being held back is like one of the scary, difficult things for a kid, especially when you're trying to keep up with your friends and um, things like that. But what happened was when the school got involved, and this is what happens, and I really hope that people learn from this because who better to find out from the actual school authorities that worked on our case in 1985 in Keystone Oaks School District. And I was called into the office, and of course, naturally, when you have parents or something going on at school, they have to call in a parent teacher conference. And initially, I was afraid I was going to get in trouble because obviously my mom was having problems at home. And sorry about that. So when this guidance counselor came in, and of course the principal, um, they asked us questions about basically what was going on at home. And eventually I did tell the school that my mom had been leaving the house and she put this man in charge, and we didn't know what was going on with my sisters, and there was no official missing persons report. My mother obviously was aware where the girls were, and it's my two sisters. But had to learn what my mom didn't know was that George Koynock was running a daycare center, and what he was doing is he ran a daycare center where there was, well, he was a registered offender. And the reason I tell my story is because this story is not the first time. In fact, we just heard about it again, where a sex offender is involved. And what they do is they prey on families, especially during a divorce, separation. There are a lot of reasons why. I mean, if you find your family in a weak moment, they can attack a foster family. It can be any family, really. Um, that's why I think what happened here over at Super 8 is relevant, and why it happens, I don't know how we end up in these situations, but I'll be honest with you, I really believe we're led, and I believe we're led sometimes either lured or led into a trap. So, and I saw all the early signs of a trap years ago, In fact, 2 years ago, I saw some things that just didn't seem right, and I contacted a police officer. I also contacted the Baden Police Department and asked them what to do. And I've actually talked to officers and down in Eaton Park in Pittsburgh about if you have suspicion or concerns. It just turned out that approximately like 5 days ago, a man was preying on my sister's family. So that's how close this was. And in fact, I know we were sexually abused because I'll be honest with you, I know the difference. And I know when somebody's trying to do something weird with us. And what happened is that somebody was trying to do some weird stuff to us in these hotels. Now, I can't prove it in court. And a lot of times, this is what offenders do. They want to discredit the victims. And listen, no matter how many friends or unfriending that is going on, I'm not too concerned. I'm more concerned about who went missing, who gets home at night. Because I'll be honest with you, first of all, we haven't had a place to live, we've been assaulted and sexually assaulted. And that's why I'm getting my message out, because eventually somebody's going to hear from us. And I know for a fact the state troopers that look into these cases and police departments and investigators, it's not the first time we've talked to investigators, it's not this last time. And a lot of times what happens is it's a cry for help, and typically what they don't want to do is sometimes they don't want the victim to be found. And that's what I'm concerned about mostly, knowing somebody's description. If you have these concerns, go ahead and comment below. These are the things that happen here in Butler, Pennsylvania. I mean, still the story about Sherry Mahan is still relevant here. The story about a lot of the abducted children that we haven't even touched the surface on. All the children have gone missing or abducted. But that story is even more so because it happened during the same time of the Sherry Mahan case. What I found really interesting at that time of Sherry Mahan's abduction is that was when we were dealing with George Koinoff. So I don't know if there's a connection to that assault. I don't even know if there's a connection to all these sexual assaults, but I know this. We have been victims of sexual assault several times. And I know that when somebody's perpetrating somebody in sodomy cases, rape cases, molestation, sexual abuse cases, you've got to contact the police. I'm encouraging you guys to call the police, because I'll be honest with you, if somebody tries to lure somebody into it, and I know I have been lured into things, I know I've been trapped into something, and I know for a fact that they want us to continue this cycle of abuse. And I'll be honest with you, I know that we may not have the ability to say no. I know for a fact, if I have a binder on and I'm defenseless and I'm helpless, I depend on people to call the police. I depend on it. My life matters too. My mom's life matters. My family's life matters. And as far as I'm concerned, it doesn't matter. If we don't want to be abused, I'm saying right now, I don't want to be sexually abused. I don't want to be molested. And I certainly don't want to be abused. And I certainly don't want to be staying in a hotel where a child was raped or molested or abused or murdered. People have done things to us, and I promise you this, the before and after pictures are obvious. What they're doing to us and what has been done to us was immoral and illegal. And I'm not going to settle for abuse. I'm not going to settle for anybody sexually assaulting us. And listen, I didn't report it doesn't mean it didn't happen to me. Once you're a victim, it changes the whole story. I've gone to these shelters and they said we didn't qualify for any help. I'll be honest with you, once you're a victim of sexual assault, it changes the whole game. So no matter what anybody ever tells anybody, they could tell you anything they want to make you believe anything. Once you've been assaulted, it changes the whole game. Everything from what happened to us, everything that we've lived through is the game changer. And listen, this is not about making friends at all. This is about survival. For some of us, being sexually abused or molested, or somebody ever touching somebody inappropriate, please, I'm telling you, these people have done things to us. We have been told things. We believed a lot of things. So I mean, it's a very confusing thing to be caught up in, especially if somebody's ever been drugged or talked into something or coerced or ever blackmailed, because that's one of the biggies. Because a lot of times children are so afraid of these people that they're afraid to talk and open up. And I'll be honest with you, anybody looking down somebody's shirt or do anything, you have to talk about it. Listen, we've been threatened. We've been threatened into a lot of things. I've seen my ex-husband, his dad putting a gun to his head. So, I mean, and believe me, they put people in closets and everything. So, and we're talking people, we're talking about women, okay? So, and there's all kinds of online stuff happening on the dark web. So to me, being more outspoken, talking about it, and getting to the bottom of all the trafficking and sex issues, not to say that there aren't people that go to clubs and dance and have fun. Believe me, that's a whole different story. What these people are about is something totally different. We're talking about registered, demented, psychopathic, registered sex offenders. I mean, when we were little girls, me and my sisters were we were in a foster home, and right after they got done abusing the kids, we ended up literally barely surviving the abuse from the daycare center to the foster care issue. And that was in 1985, and we lived on a farmhouse, and we went to Glade Run, and we worked at, I know I was on a paper route, and there were all kinds of really screwed up things that were going on during that time, and it's still going on. So to me, I really believe the Sherry Mahan case may be connected to the George Coynock situation, because it's interesting. Right after my dad left jail, there was a lot of people talking, and my dad was talking to some people in jail, and what they do to sex offenders in jail is a whole different story. I mean, my dad was picked up for drinking and driving, issues like that. So, I mean, I think what needs to be, the emphasis needs to be on, is that people need to talk. People need to talk about what's going on, and they need to know who lured who and who does what. Because I'll be honest with you, most of us kids who have gone to the pool, we used to go swimming, we used to lay out in the sun. You don't see these kids laying out in the sun and going to the pool anymore. And notice why? Because of sexual abuse. Most of the times, I know for a fact, most of the girls that I know would be at the beach and hanging out. They don't want to be raped at a beach house in Florida, much less at a beach house in Maryland. So let me say this. Get outspoken, talk, because I'll be honest with you, this has been going on since we were young, okay? And I really believe if we don't speak out on it, it'll be somebody else. It'll be somebody else's child, it'll be somebody else's daughter. And looking at the Sherry Mahan case, to me, makes it as relevant as what happened to us. Listen, they didn't take our case didn't go public, doesn't mean our case doesn't matter. Okay, HB 951. Emphasize that. Talk to your state troopers, talk to the bounties, talk to the police, because I'll be honest with you, this missing persons and sexual abuse has been going on for a long time. Talk to the police, call the police. Believe me, it makes a difference. Can you see what he did? Yeah.